the early Islamic understanding, the understanding of the early generation Muslims. We read in Sunan Abu Dawud that Abu Dar said, I was sitting behind the Apostle of Allah who was riding a donkey while the sun was setting. He asked, do you know where the sun sets? I replied, Allah and his Apostle know best. He says, it sets in a spring of warm water. And so it's clearly that there's actually a physical location in the early Islamic understanding, the understanding of the early generation Muslims, as to where the sun actually sets.
Open the Torah. Anyone who cross-dresses, any man who walks around in women's clothing is detestable to the one true God.
I've managed to squeeze this 240 pounds of awesomeness into the only garment in my wife's dresser stretchy enough to hold it. Confused. Muhammad tells one of his companions about the sun. He's imparting some of his prophetic knowledge. He asks Abu Dar, do you know where the sun sets? Abu Dar says, you know, you're the prophet here. And Muhammad tells him it sets in a pool of water. There's absolutely no wiggle room for reinterpretation here. Thank you. Sunan Abu Dawud, 3991. Abu Dar said, I was sitting behind the Apostle of Allah, who was riding a donkey while the sun was setting. He asked, do you know where this sets? I replied, Allah and his Apostle know best. He said, it sets in a spring of warm water. It sets in a spring of warm water. Where does the sun set? According to Muhammad, it sets in a pool of water. Bravo. Thank you. Bravo. Thank you. Bravo. Bravo. Thank you. Bravo.
The question of the sun, there's a hadith in which the prophet describes the sun, after it sets, it goes and prostrates before the throne of God. And this, of course, in the early 20th century caused all this anxiety. Yet you look at I give examples of lots of pre-modern Muslim scholars who, they all knew the hadith wasn't literally true. They knew that the sun didn't literally go and prostrate before the throne of God, because they know that the sun is always up, because they knew about prayer times. They knew if you went really far north, the sun was always up, and they knew that at different places the sun was rising and setting at different times. So it was always figurative. And yet, when it comes time to, this confrontation with European modernity, this becomes a big crisis. And there's the tradition is forgotten, and it's overwhelmed by this sense of crisis and inferiority.
Bravo.
The third criterion is that the book should not have a failed prophecy. Deuteronomy 18:22 says that if a prophet speaks something and it doesn't happen, don't listen to him. In short, that is a false prophet. Now, it turns out that there are passages in both the Old Testament and the New that predict something and then it doesn't happen. For example, Paul, writing in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17, speaks of Jesus coming back in Paul's own lifetime, so that he is included among the we who would be taken up into heaven when Jesus returns. And of course, this did not happen. It is a failed prophecy, and on this criterion, the Bible fails.